Okay, let's just dive right in. What if the biggest mystery in physics and the biggest mystery in biology weren't two separate problems at all? What if they were actually two sides of this same, totally mind-bending coin? Well, we're about to explore a theory that does just that. It connects the bizarre, strange rules of the quantum world directly to the experience of, well, being you. So, to really get this, we first have to appreciate the sheer scale of what we don't know. I mean, science has given us incredible things, right? But it's still completely humbled by two fundamental, massive gaps in our understanding of how reality even works. So, mystery number one. It comes from the super weird world of quantum mechanics. You see, on the tiniest scales, reality seems to, well, behave differently when we're not looking. The very act of observing something doesn't just reveal what's there, it seems to actually create it. This is called the observer effect, and it's one of the strangest, most proven facts in all of science. And this slide right here, it just nails the paradox. Look at the top diagram. When we fire electrons without checking which slit they pass through, they act like a wave, creating this broad interference pattern. But then, look at the bottom. The second we put a detector there to see which path the electron takes, poof, the wave behavior is gone. They act like normal little particles. Reality is forced to pick a side. It's almost as if the universe holds its breath until someone is watching. Okay, now for the second giant mystery, and this one is way more personal. We know the brain is this incredibly complex machine, right? It's all neurons and chemicals, and we can map its signals. But why isn't it all just dark inside? Why does all that electrical and chemical processing come with the private, subjective feeling of color or sound or an emotion? This is what's known as the hard problem of consciousness. And this thought experiment just illustrates the problem so brilliantly. Imagine a perfect copy of you, atom for atom. It walks like you, talks like you, acts exactly like you. But on the inside, there's nothing. No joy, no sadness, no experience of the color red. That inner subjective feeling is what philosophers call qualia. And if you can even imagine a creature without it, a philosophical zombie, that proves that consciousness is some kind of extra ingredient that isn't explained by just the physical parts alone. So here's where it all comes together. We've got a mystery in physics where an observer collapses reality, and a mystery in biology about how a lump of matter becomes an observer in the first place. What if these aren't separate puzzles? What if the answer to one is actually hidden inside the other? And this brings us to a really audacious idea. A theory that tries to build a bridge across these two massive chasms, connecting the absolute weirdness of the quantum world directly to the fabric of our own minds. You know, physicists have been arguing for a century about what actually causes this quantum collapse. There are all these different ideas like branching universes or just pure randomness. But we're going to focus on the most controversial one, the one that was kind of pushed to the side for a long time. It's called the von Neumann-Wigner interpretation, and it basically proposed that the one thing that can stop the quantum weirdness is consciousness itself. So let's meet the two main players who took this wild idea and tried to turn it into actual science. On one side, you've got Sir Roger Penrose, a Nobel-winning physicist. He argued that consciousness can't be like a computer. You can't just calculate it. It had to be something quantum. And on the other side, you have Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist, who by studying how we lose consciousness, found what he thought was the perfect biological home for these quantum events. And this is that home, microtubules. For decades, scientists just thought of these as cellular scaffolding, the support beams inside our neurons. But Hameroff thought they were way more than that. He saw them as these highly organized, protected little tunnels where delicate quantum effects could actually happen and survive inside a warm, wet, and messy brain. And their collaboration gave us the Orch-CASC Theory. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know, but the idea behind it is pretty straightforward. Objective reduction, that's Penrose's physics part, about how quantum states collapse on their own, and orchestrated, that's Hameroff's biology part, where these collapses are organized inside the microtubules. So putting it all together, each and every moment of your conscious experience is a physical collapse of quantum possibilities happening inside your neuron. Now, Orch-CASC is a beautiful, elegant theory, but it has always had this one giant gaping hole in it, a problem of scale. How do you get from the unimaginably tiny quantum world all the way up to our everyday experience? I mean, this is the real challenge, right? An Orch-CASC event is happening at the nanometer scale. It lasts for milliseconds. A conscious thought, on the other hand, involves millions of neurons firing all across your brain. It's like trying to start an earthquake by dropping a feather. There's clearly a piece missing, some kind of amplifier that connects these two completely different worlds. And that's where the source for this explainer, Serge Angelos, comes in. He looked at this problem not as a physicist or a neuroscientist, but as a systems integrator, like an engineer. He saw two systems that just weren't talking to each other. He didn't think the theory was wrong, he just saw a design challenge. His job was to figure out that missing amplifier. So how do you build that amplifier? Well, Angelos proposes that nature already built it. The concept is called criticality. The idea is that the brain is constantly keeping itself in this very special state, balanced right on the edge of chaos, somewhere between being too rigid and too random. Think of a sand pile that's built up so high that the very next grain of sand could cause a tiny little shift or a massive avalanche. A brain in this state is just exquisitely sensitive. And this leads to the whole mechanism, which Angelos calls Orch-CASC. Okay, it's a complicated name, but the process is actually beautiful. Let's walk through it. First, a tiny quantum event happens in a microtubule, just like Penrose and Hameroff said. Second, because the brain is in that super-sensitive critical state, that tiny quantum grain of sand is just enough to tip the scales. Third, that little tip triggers a huge cascade, an avalanche of millions of neurons firing together. And fourth, this is the key, that massive brain-wide cascade is the conscious moment. The tiny quantum signal has been amplified into a thought. So if this model is even close to being correct, the implications aren't just big, they are realistic shattering. It suggests something like the butterfly effect, but on a cosmic scale, originating inside your own head. I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single moment of your awareness, every choice you make, every fleeting thought that crosses your mind could be the amplification of a single fundamental quantum event, an event that took a wave of infinite possibilities and collapsed it down into one single concrete reality. So what does this mean for us? For you, it means your mind might not just be a passenger, passively watching a movie of the universe. You might be an active participant, a co-creator of reality itself. And free will, in this picture, it becomes something so much more profound. It's not just about choosing to do this or that. It might be the fundamental act of choosing which of the many quantum futures becomes the one we all actually live in. Every single conscious moment is a focal point where pure possibility becomes real. And that's really the final mind-bending thought to leave you with. We usually think of our choices as just pushing a single timeline forward. But what if that's not how it works? What if, at every single moment you're aware, you are standing at a crossroads of infinite quantum possibilities, and your act of being conscious is what selects the path? It's a theory that places consciousness not as some afterthought of physics, but right at its very heart.